relationship, be a star athlete, and otherwise a perfect child before the parent ever says, "Good job. I'm proud of you." It's so much effort to engage in the behavior to get such a small reward that the behavior is not likely to happen reliably. Now, here's where practice comes into play. As behaviors are very practiced, as you get better at them, they require less effort. You don't have to do as much. And if you don't have to do as much, then we don't have to give as much reinforcement. So I hope that makes sense. Lastly, coercion interferes with learning and uptake of new behaviors. So coercion is punishment, or the threat of punishment. And we tend to be very punitive people. Society is very punitive. Think about the last time you got a ticket. Or our general response to almost everything is, hey, let's just fine people. Let's just slap a big heavy fine or a tax or a tariff on them. Or let's yell at them. Oftentimes the strategy that parents take. Let's yell at them. Let's get angry or upset. Coercion interferes with the learning of uptake of new behaviors, and here's how. Well, first of all, it destroys relationships, which are the foundation for behavior change. So one of the foundations for parents and parenting is that you have a good, meaningful relationship with your child. Functionally, the reason why that's important is because you can become a conditioned reinforcer. So if you go back to Pavlov, a parent becomes a conditioned reinforcer because I can say things like, "Way to go, son. I'm so proud of you." And it means something. Because I occasionally exchange that for hugs, for other privileges. And so I can become, based on my relationship with him or her, I can become a conditioned reinforcer. Well, punishment, severe punishment and coercion interferes with that. It destroys this relationship. If I am a punitive parent, all I ever do is discipline. All I ever do, and I use discipline in the sense of punish, spank, hit, yell, scream, remove privileges, or just generally make threats. "You rotten child, I'm going to take away everything." You're never a good kid, or this or that. Well, it destroys the relationship. I become a punitive stimulus, and the child no longer likes me. It usually occurs too late. Think about, again, the last time you got a ticket. When did you actually pay for it? Well, at a minimum, a couple of weeks later, if not months. Well, the impact on behavior is, the opportunity for impact is long since passed. Now all that happens is you just go to the courthouse and you're angry, or you just pay online now, and you're just mad. You want to destroy their site. You're upset, but it has no impact on your behavior because it's now too late. And so many parents will say, "Well, you just wait until your father gets home." Well, by the time dad gets home and dad gets mad, dad is now just a mean person. It's no longer has an impact on behavior. Probably the most important justification or reason for why punishment is not effective is because it doesn't teach a new behavior. So think about our penal system. We slap big fines onto people, we throw them into jail, and when they come out, there's high rates of recidivism because we have not taught them a new behavior in order for them to meet the function for why the behavior occurred originally. So if somebody was involved in larceny or theft, because they needed money, because they didn't have skills to get a profitable job that provided sufficiently for them and their family, they stole money. So if they're in jail and we don't provide a new behavior that meets that function, then they're likely to engage in the same behavior when they're released. The same would be true of drug use, adolescent drug use. Again, behavior is always occurring. If we don't help develop new behaviors that meet the function of the behavior, then we haven't redirected the behavioral stream and we are not effective at just stopping behavior because it's always occurring and it's always meeting the original function. Coercion or punishment produces one of three outcomes. or really it's two. Escape and avoidance are probably one and the same. Think about most young children that live in very abusive homes, verbally or physically abusive homes. Mom and dad are abusive. So what do? I escape. I just no longer care. Hit me if you like, I don't care. And we get children who are very unattached. And you may have heard about kids like this or seen them. It's almost like they're not even there. They're just a skeleton or a shell. They don't care. There's no light in their life. Well, they're escaping. The only thing I can do is in my mind, avoid this. Just go to a different place emotionally. As I get a little bit older, I might actually be able to avoid the stimulus. So I might run away. By the time I'm 16 or 17 years old and I'm bigger, now I no longer have to escape and avoid, but I can effectively counter-aggress, or I can counter-coerce. So now if you hit me, I'll hit you back. And I'll hit you with a club or a bat or a gun, and domestic violence escalates and gets out of control because now I can counter-coerce. These are the common results of coercive practices. It's interesting to note that schools are oftentimes reported to be one of the most coercive environments. And in fact, they are. Think about kids. If you don't know how to read well or do math, or you don't perform well, then it's embarrassing. That's punishing. So, or a teacher says, hey, why didn't you get your homework done? You know, you never do your homework. Or they just, it's just generally punitive. And so what do? I escape it. I don't pay attention. I engage in other behaviors. I'm off task. I avoid it. I drop out of school. I'm tardy. I'm just generally absent. Or I counter-coerce. I tag the school. I light garbage cans on fire. I destroy property. And schools are among the most targeted locations for vandalism, probably the result of them being rated as very coercive or punishing. Now, we should note that unhealthy, unsafe, or unproductive behavior is a signal for more and better behavioral engineering. It might be teaching. Again, poor teaching and learning, or poor motivation. Here's a simple example. Rather than watch this video, let me just explain a simple example of police pulling over students as they're pulling out of a high school parking lot, rewarding them for good behavior, rewarding them for wearing seatbelts. You know, things like this are okay. It's a step in the right direction of providing positive stimuli, positive consequences for engaging in the right behavior.